Hey everyone, happy Friday. I'm on my way to Japan as we are watching this video. I'm going to be on a plane today for about 14 hours. Wish me luck. Today, you guys will be taking a quiz on all the different transformations, so let's go over your homework and then you guys can take the quiz. So let's start with our reflection rules. On the first one, it says if we translate left 3, so we know that's going to be in the x spot. Left is -3. Up 1, that's going to be in my y spot, +1. Reflect over the x-axis. I like to think of this as negating the y value, so everything stays the same. Negate the y. Reflect over the y-axis. We just keep our ordered pair, but we negate the x value. Reflect over y equals x. I like to think of this as the ordered pair where you switch both the x and the y. So we used to have xy, now we have yx. And when we switch reflect over y equals -x, we switch the x and the y, and then negate both. If we want to rotate 90 degrees, remember if it does not say, we assume this means counterclockwise. So if we rotate 90 degrees, you're going to switch them. And then I like to imagine if I have a point here, and then we rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise, what's going to be changing here is your x value went from a positive x value to a negative x value, so we negate the x spot. If we rotate 180 degrees, remember if it doesn't say, we assume counterclockwise, this is just negate the x and negate the y. And then rotate 270, so when we rotate 270, I remember that I have to switch them, but then I have to remember which one do I negate, the x spot or the y spot. So if I'm rotating 270, I went from a point here to a point here. So we have a positive y value to now a negative y value, so in the y spot, make that negative. Okay, our first example, it says translate the given point, left 4 units and up 3. So I'm going to write this, and I want to write what my translation rule is. I have x, left 4, -4, and then up 3, so y +3. Then that helps me to use this to get my final answer. So when I do -1 and -4, we're going to be at -5. And then 5 + 3, so we're at 8. Okay, next. Rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Be very careful that this says clockwise. So remember, our rules that we remember are in counterclockwise, so this matches up to 270 counterclockwise. And if I think about that rule, which we just did, that rule is going to be switch the x and the y, and I have to imagine this is a point in the first quadrant, and I go 270 counterclockwise right here, so the x value stays the same, positive y to a negative y, so in the negative y spot. So we're going to do this to this one. Step 1, switch them. So -4, -2. Then in the y spot, negate it. So that'll become a positive. Number 3, reflect over y equals x. So our rule for reflecting over y equals x is just to switch the x in the y spot. So we're going to have y, x. So when we reflect this over y equals x, we just have 5, 0. Translate the given point, right 3 units and down 4 units. I want to start by writing what my rule is. So right 3 is going to be a +3, and down 4 is going to be y -4. So we're going to take 5 plus our 3, 8. -7 and -4 is -11. Translate up 2 units and right 3. So I want to write this rule, and it says up 2 units, and I have to be careful because they wrote this in the reverse order from what we normally say. Normally we say the left and right direction first and then the up and down direction, but they wrote up 2 first. So make sure you remember that's y +2. It's y +2 when it's up 2. So even though they said it in the wrong order, that's definitely a y value. And then right 3 is going to be x +3. So 0 + 3 is 3. -3 + 2, -1. Negative 5 plus 3 will give me negative 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. And then 4 plus 2 will give me 6. Rotate the triangle 180 degrees, so we need to remember the rule here. This is just negate the x and negate the y. Negate both. So all we're doing is whatever numbers we have, we do the opposite and the opposite. So opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. Opposite of positive 3 is going to be negative 3. Opposite of positive 2, negative 2. Opposite of negative 4 is going to be positive 4. Opposite or negate, positive 1. Negative 6, opposite, positive 6. Reflect the triangle over the x-axis. So x-axis is we negate the y value. When we reflect over the x-axis, you negate the y value. So the x stays the same, and then the opposite. X stays the same, opposite. X still stays the same, opposite. Translate 1 unit left. So if we write our rule for 1 unit left, that's going to be x minus 1. And it doesn't say anything about up or down. And so you have to be careful here. If it doesn't say anything about up or down, you can imagine this as y plus 0 or y minus 0, or you can just say y. So nothing will change in the y spot. The only thing you're doing is for the x value, you're going to subtract 1. So if we're subtracting 1, we're going to get 4. The y stays the same. Subtract 1, so that's negative 3. The y stays the same. Subtract 1, the y stays the same. Now for the second transformation, it says to reflect over the y-axis. When I reflect over the y-axis, we just negate the x value. So now we're negating the x value here. So negate would give me negative 4. And then for the y value, we do the same. Negate, negative 3, we get positive 3. Y value stays the same. Opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. And the y value stays the same. Okay, a rotation, 90 degrees. So remember, if it does not say, we assume counterclockwise, which is the rule that we learned. So that rule is y, then x. And I can never remember which way it goes, so if I'm rotating from here to here, the y value is still some positive y value, but I went from a positive x to a negative x, so we need to put a negative in the x spot. So we're going to switch them, 3, 0, then negate the x spot. Switch them, 4, negative 2, negate the x spot. Switch them, negative 1, 3, negate the x spot. Then the second thing we're doing is reflecting over y equals x, and our rule for reflecting over y equals x is just to switch the x and the y. So we just reverse the order. So we reverse, 0, negative 3. Reverse the order, negative 2, negative 4. Reverse the order, 3, 1. Reflect over y equals negative x. Our rule for reflecting over y equals negative x is to switch the x and y and then negate both. Switch the x and y and then negate both. So I'm going to do that first. Switch the x and y. Now negate both. And I can't negate 0, so we just leave it 0. Switch the x and y. So that'll give me 4, negative 2. Negate both. So negative and a positive. Switch the x and y, negative 1, 3. Then negate both. So positive and negative 3. Then our next one, and be careful again, it says to translate down 3 units. Do I write x minus 3 for down 3 units? No. The to x minus 3 would mean a left 3. So if we want down 3 units, we have to remember to put that in the y spot. So down 3 is y minus 3. And then a right 1 unit is going to be a positive 1. So we're going to take these and do our second transformation. So we have negative 3 plus 1, negative 2. 0 minus 3, negative 3. Negative 4 plus 1, negative 3. 2 minus 3, negative 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Number 11. Be careful here. It gives us a direction of clockwise. We have to remember that the rules that we learned are in counterclockwise. So if I'm here and I move clockwise 90 degrees, that puts me in this spot, which is actually 270 degrees counterclockwise if I go this way. So our rule for 270 counterclockwise, for rotation on 90 and 270, we first have to switch them. I went from a positive y to a negative y, so in the negate the y spot. Okay? So switch them. Switch the x and y. Then negate the y spot. Switch them. Then negate the y spot. Switch them. Negate the y spot. Now we're done with our 90 degrees clockwise rotation. Next step is to reflect over the x-axis. When we reflect over the x-axis, we just negate the y. Keep everything the same, negate the y. So keep your x, negate your y, positive 8. Keep your x, negate your y, positive 7. Keep your x and negate your y. And then our last problem, we have two transformations. Our first one is left 3 units. So if I think about left 3 units, that's in my x direction. So we're going to be negative 3. And then if I go up 4, positive 4. Okay, so take your x of 5, subtract 3. What do we get? 2. Good. Take your negative 2, add 4, positive 2. Negative 8 minus 3, negative 11. 1 plus 4, 5. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. And then 7 plus 4 gives me 11. Then we're going to rotate again. Be careful. It says 90 degrees clockwise. We need to remember that clockwise 90 degrees is the same as 270 counterclockwise. So we've done that rule several times now. Switch them, and since we are going from first quadrant to fourth quadrant for a 270 counterclockwise rotation, the y value went from positive y to a negative y, so negate the y spot. 2 steps. First, switch the x and y. Then negate the y spot. Switch the x and y. 5, negative 11, negate the y spot. Switch the x and y, negate the y spot. Now, if you guys have any questions about problems that I've already completed, you can take the video and go back to whichever question you need to go over. And good luck on your quiz!